keep in mind that some of my guests have been approached by, Homeland Security or FBI saying, why are you going on the Clay Douglas show?
My message to those guys, if they're listening this morning, is go get a cup of coffee. Maybe you'll learn something.
We both took the same oath, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I don't recall there being an expiration date on that.
So well it doesn't show. How can I contain this anguish and this pain, knowing that your eyes are blinded by the lies?
He is the free American, Clay Douglas.
Have your eyes been blinded by the lies? Yes, your eyes are blinded by the lies.
Catch the free American weekdays at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern.
Every time I think about the damage that's been done, the anger wells inside me till I'm almost overcome. I want to tear the moon out of the sky and drop the sun. Why do I feel so all alone like I'm the only one?
For the podcast and more details, visit www.freeamerican.com or catch the podcast by phone by calling 832-999-8621.
Your soul may know the darkness of divine eternity, like petty thieves who thunder in the shadows of the night. They break inside and enter through the windows of your mind. How can I?
Every time our country stands in the path of danger, an instinct seems to summon her finest first, those who truly understand her. When freedom shivers in the cold shadow of true peril, it's always the patriots who first hear the call. When loss of liberty is looming, as it is now, the siren sounds first in the hearts of freedom's vanguard, who come from their simple homes to find the fire and fight. That symbolizes the full measure of human dignity and liberty.
Remember real clear years ago in the swamps of South Georgia, cane pulling crossman in my hands, all I needed to be growed up. Homemade ice cream and barbecue and the family on Friday nights. 10-lane ramp on Saturday right before the morning light. Came a time I was old enough and I learned about the gun. And every night at supper time I answered to what I'd done. Today what we got about the way it used to be. They got no respect and no cold steel, just games on TV. A burning hell before I sell my rights away from me. It's high time we embrace the tool that keeps all men free.
Good morning, Revolution Radio listeners. The sun is rising across this great United States, and that means straight from the heart of Texas. It is time for Clayton Douglas, the free American. Take it away, Clayton.
All right. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of the Free American. And my guest today is Matt Traverso. Is it Traverso?
Yeah, you got it. That's it.
Hello,
That's right.
Matt. How are you?
Hello. Very well, Clay. Very well, thanks.
Where you located at? I'm not talking to you over in England, am I?
No, I'm not in England. I'm in New York right now.
Well,
Right
okay.
in the
My
center.
condolences.
Midtown.
My condolences there, Matt. London and New York, two centers of the whole New World Order thing. That
I agree.
and the Vatican.
I agree.
But I do this radio show, and I have some people that special guests that book some of my authors and some of the interviews that I do here. Not all of them, but I really never know who I'm going to get, and I hadn't even I hadn't even gone to your site before yesterday, before when I put this up. So I really didn't know what I was getting into this morning. I have this kind of a phobia against the medical profession. I don't like doctors. I don't like the big pharma. And all I knew about you is you were going to tell us how to deal with diabetes.
That's quite correct. That's absolutely right. Well, first of all, my message is not a message against big pharma, big business, food industry, doctors. Actually, I believe that all of them are wonderful people. They're just doing what they've been trained to do, what they're taught to do. And therefore, there's the approach of blaming the industry, even though it was an approach that I actually per, followed and actually wrote at great length in several of my books on health. It's not the approach that I've taken. I've shifted my angle, my focus on something more integrated, more effective, which is giving power to the individual, getting each person to take full responsibility. That is a far better, more effective strategy to produce results, because the result is not, okay, FDA bashing, blaming the AMA. No, that's what are we going to get out of it? That they're going to change? There's no chance.
But Matt, I gotta like take a little issue with you here, because the first thing I saw when I opened up your site was warning, don't even think about buying more diabetes drugs until you read this.
Exactly. But that's science. That is science. That is just, something that, clinically and scientifically proven that diabetes medication actually increase the risk of heart disease and many other complications, and that's been published over the last 20 years, especially the last 12, 13, 14, 15 years in the New England Journal of Medicine, in the American Journal of the American Medical Association, and all the other most prestigious medical journals are showing that natural approaches, integrated approaches, holistic approaches are far superior to drugs. So I'm just, right now, the best, most effective approach is just going with evidence-based medicine. But that's not what we're practicing. What's being practiced in this country and around the world is reimbursement medicine. In other words, who is paying for the angioplasty, the stent, the medication, the treatment for diabetes, for cancer, for heart disease? Because these tsunami of chronic diseases have exactly the same cause. It's not that is caused by something. Lupus is caused by something else, fibromyalgia and reflux and osteoporosis. They're all symptoms, which is the new paradigm that I'm teaching around the world, to start seeing that there aren't really any diseases. Illnesses do not exist. There are only symptoms, effects of imbalances within, in the body. These imbalances, they could be hormonal imbalances, they could be digestive imbalances, but all these imbalances are clearly identified and determined through the imbalance of the blood pH and the body fluid pH. And that's something that I've explored and learned and taught to thousands and thousands of people around the world, together with Dr. Robert O. Young.
All right, let me for many years here, I discovered a product. It was called Miracle 2 Soap. It was simply soap. And they also had a product called Neutralizer. that they said was one of the main ingredients in the soap. This was just a clear liquid. And the inventor of this, or the man that discovered this, his name was Clayton Teddington. And I had him on my show many times, and he told a story of what he claimed was God writing a message, a formula in lights on his wall. And he woke his wife up and said, "Can you see this?" She said, "No. Go back to sleep, Clayton." And, "No, no, this is important. You got to write this down." She wrote it down for him. He dictated it to her. And the next morning, they got up and found out that they had made soap. Now, this they called it a miracle 2 soap, and they discovered that by giving this ingredient, which was basically, I believe, just H2O, liquid water, with a little twist. It was more alkaline. It was more alkaline than acidic, and it did exactly what you just said. It balanced people out. People that were on statins and other types of drugs like that couldn't even walk around the parking lot. They said they took a sip of this neutralizer every morning, and suddenly they could walk around the whole block. They were walking around the whole block telling people about this. And this is the image that just came to mind as you were describing this. Not food, but a pH balance that we're
That's
just
it.
way off on.
That's exactly the secret, and of course, it's a whole array range collection of factors that will shift and change and affect the pH value of the body fluids. And we can see that just by taking by some pH strips from anywhere, the chemist, the pharmacy, and we just test our saliva, our urine, to see what our body is like internally by the value of the pH of our urine, which is even more reliable than our saliva, which is more variable. But yes, I already know that 90+% of the U.S. population actually not just the U.S. but global population, because diabetes and all these chronic diseases are a global epidemic, the biggest single global epidemic ever in the history of the human species. We know that, so it's not, for example, the country that tops the chart these days is China, followed in second place by India. Third place is United States. So I know that most people are acidic, and in order to correct and eliminate not just diabetes but also many forms of cancer and completely eradicate heart disease, which is the biggest killer, consistently being the biggest killer in the world, which is heart disease. 1 in 2 people dies of heart disease, 1 in 3 dies of cancer, 1 in 4 dies of diabetes and its complications.
All right, let me stop you there for just a second. I mean, we've all heard about the heart conditions. We've heard about cancer. Now, diabetes, I find myself almost drawing a blank on what diabetes is. What causes diabetes? What is it? What is it? And you're listing that up here as the probably in the top 4 killer diseases out there that we're carrying around here. What is a diabetes? What supposedly causes that?
Well, again, we know it very well, very clearly. And there were, like in 1983, there were worldwide 35 million diabetics. In 2008, there were 240 million diabetics. Today, there are now 400 million diabetics. So we've seen an increase, tenfold increase, bigger, actually 11, 12-fold increase over the last 20-something years. But the more the time goes by, the more exponential the growth. so it's not just a steady, consistent, same rate of growth, of expansion, but it's expanding exponentially. That's why it's such an alarming, it's such an urgent disaster, catastrophe that we have to absolutely, and I know that the people that are going to shift this trend are not going to be doctors, not because they're not good people. They are wonderful, caring, hardworking people, or at least the vast majority of them, and I know many of them, and I work very closely with many of them. It's just that they don't know what's caused by, they don't know how to diagnose it, much less to treat it, and much less to eradicate, reverse, and cure diabetes. They don't know. What they've been trained to do is apply the same approach that doesn't work, which is using medications and insulin, and that is simply the wrong approach. I repeat, that is simply the wrong approach, and the evidence is showing that, and all the research is showing that, so much so that we don't need any new discoveries, we don't need new breakthroughs, we don't need new research. The science is overwhelming. The science is crystal clear. So back to your question. We know it's a food-borne disease, and it's a lifestyle disease. It's what we do. It's not that you get diabetes, you get, and not even the other ones. Oh, this person got heart disease. This person got cancer. This person got diabetes. We don't catch cancer. We don't catch diabetes. We don't catch heart disease. And for that matter, we don't even catch a cold, or we don't even catch a depression. Oh, these people got depression. Bullshit. People are doing depression, so much so that unless they do something specifically that produces diabetes, they're not going to have diabetes or depression or cancer or heart disease. And some people say, well, what about genes? Well, let me give you this frame of reference as a metaphor. Genes load the gun. And our guns are all loaded, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. Who is lifestyle? We are lifestyle. What we do, how we live, how we think, what we feel, how we drink, what we drink, how we eat, what we eat, how we live our life. That is the cause of cancer, of heart disease, of obesity, of osteoporosis, of arthritis, hypertension, of high cholesterol, and of course, yes, and especially diabetes. So how do you change all that? No, it's not going to be a new high-tech device. It's not going to be something very expensive, a new laser, a new drug, a new magic bullet. I'm sorry. People are still waiting for something like that. Don't you know? They know, but they know, and they're faking. Now, at this stage, 2013, everybody knows that the pharmaceutical approach, the pharmacological approach, failed so miserably that is almost hilarious, almost ridiculous. But you know, the only people that are laughing are the drug companies. That's all. Not the people who are suffering. But the thing is that, sure, yes, a lot of compassion, of course, a lot of empathy, of course, but come on, don't we know that these are food-borne lifestyle diseases? When we start eating garbage, eating poison, being pushed by the system as food, which has nothing to do, like, for this industrial, processed, high sugar, fast food, junk food, industrial food, low protein and nutrient, high dense calorie processed food. This has got nothing. Without, there are 78,000 chemical poisons in our food today. And the vast majority is processed. And that is not the type of food that we're supposed to eat, and that's why the body breaks down. And then we go, oh, let's get another poison, i.e. another drug, to fix the problem. How insane is that? And now all the research is showing that. I'm just here to not the basic message, is that I'm not saying anything new here. I'm just reminding people what they already know, what their good sense, common sense. But the problem used to say is that it's not too common. I mean, we want to pretend that we don't know. We would like, I don't know. Ignorance is bliss. I got news for you. Ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance is pain, is suffering, is death, is all those consequences like amputations. 86,000 diabetic amputations every year just in the U.S. 86,000. Because of course, because of poor circulation, gangrene, and amputations. Without thinking about, that poor circulation also translates in impotence. Think about it, impotence. When you are downing a double cheeseburger and fries and a soda, you don't think about impotence. Think about it. Or kidney damage, liver damage, heart disease, heart attacks, strokes, and all the even infertility and many others. These are all cancer is a huge consequence of diabetes and then obesity as well. Everything. As soon as the body starts working not at peak efficiency, and actually it can't even circulate enough oxygen, that you have a problem. And what do? We try to force the system, the body, by using these blood sugar lowering drugs like Avandia, like as if diabetes is an Avandia deficiency. Is it really? Or for that matter, high cholesterol is a statin deficiency. Is it really? Well, then we also have to assume or actually accept that depression is a Prozac deficiency. Is it really? I mean, this is the biggest joke. Actually, Avandia has killed exactly, and I can send you the research, over 200,000 people since it was introduced in 1999 in the market. And it was taken off the market in 2011, but guess what? They're still selling it. And also, for example, actors, even more. It was causing all kinds of cancers. So that's what diabetes is actually. The diabetes medications are massively increasing the risk of heart disease, heart attack. And the high cholesterol medications are increasing diabetes by 48%. 48% increase of the risk of developing diabetes if you're taking statin drugs. Yeah, and I got all the research published in 2008, 10, and 11, and even 12 that statin drugs directly caused an increase in the risk of developing diabetes. So we know that the better living through chemistry approach, the pharmacological approach has failed miserably.
I have to tell you, I was drugged for 3 months after a motorcycle accident, and when I got over that and was allowed to regain consciousness, I said I'll never take nothing else. I won't take any injections. I won't take any pills. I won't do that. I won't take anything else. And I never get sick. I don't get flu shots. A lot of what now one of my guests that's on my show and was on earlier this morning on this network, Dr. Rebecca Carley, is a doctor who won't practice medicine anymore because the vaccine. She said the vaccines they're giving us. I mean, we're taking poison. Here, this mercury won't bother you. You won't notice anything for 60 years or so. But what about the vaccines that we're taking? I mean, that's just more the big pharma. They want us to take this medicine, and you don't. The problem with this system is that the doctors and the pharmaceutical companies don't make any money off of you if you're well.
Yeah, well, I mean, that is so obvious and third grade. I mean, that's why. I mean, the biggest nightmare for the drug industry, for big pharma, for the pharmaceutical industry, is what? Is an epidemic of good health. Is an epidemic of healthy people. That would be a total disaster. We have to realize that the drug industry can only increase profits by getting more and more people to take more and more drugs on a regular basis. The pharmaceutical industry has no financial interest in healthy people, of course. There is no money in good health. There is a lot of money in illness, in sickness, in disease. And that's why they cannot afford to have people get well and get healthy and stay healthy. They are threatened, frightened, by such an idea. That's the worst nightmare. And I can assure you, it will never happen. It will never happen. So this is the situation. So this is not to criticize anybody. Clay, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
Okay. It's not to criticize, but I think the most important because I wrote so much about all the corruption, all the financial interests, and all the scandals, and the fact that, for example, over 50% of the FDA employees are directly paid by the drug industry, so much so that they are on their payroll directly, not indirectly, but directly. And also the AMA, we all know, that is controlled, not just controlled by the drug industry, but it was actually founded, instituted, started over a century ago by the drug industry. When these three men, J.P. Morgan, John D. Rockefeller, and Andrew Carnegie got together and said, hey, guys, we can make a ton of money. You have no idea. Just trust me. And they actually, and that's it. They took control of the medical schools, but just giving not even a lot of money, just a little bit of money. A couple of $1 million was enough to just get them enrolled. So all these agencies that people believe are supposed to protect them, actually, we know now, where have you lived if you don't know these things? Now everybody has been talking about it, great, even Linus Pauling, even great Nobel Prizes have talked about the corruption between medicine and between the FDA and the drug industry, and also psychiatry. Let's not go into that. That's even worse.
Now you mentioned you dropped three names, and I would say it's probably no coincidence that the names that you dropped were also members of our Federal Reserve, the founding of the Federal Reserve on Jekyll Island back in 1913. And,
right.
And our Thomas Jefferson warned us that if you ever allowed a private bank to issue your money, the banks and the corporations that spring up around them will leave your children homeless in the land that we conquered. And isn't that exactly? We've lost over 1 million homes have been taken from people, and we've got the illness is just rampant. And I frankly, it's hard for me to see where this is coming in. I don't take any drugs. I don't take, and I try to eat right. But that's something else that I want to bring up here. We've got genetically modified foods being pushed on us by Monsanto. And of course, the ninth plank on the Communist Manifesto is corporate farms. So we are really being poisoned now, aren't we?
Absolutely. We know it. We talked about it. There are poisons coming at us, a barrage of all these pollutants and these toxins, these acids, poisons everywhere. We know that, but we also know that we have the solution to buffer and neutralize all of that. So to take the pessimistic approach and say, well, the environment is all polluted, there's no hope, let's just, not even bother, and let's just continue doing what we've been doing before. That's not the solution, of course. That's not the approach that I'm recommending, of course, because there are solutions to virtually guarantee our own optimal health just by making some simple changes in lifestyle and diet. These are the two big things, lifestyle and diet. But what I was saying before is that, yes, we know about all of the control, and because it's not just the AMA, but there is also the FDA, the FTC, and the World Health Organization, and to some extent even the National Institute of Health, and all the academic journals, and all the research centers, and all the schools. They have all been co-opted. That's a nice word they strategically use, co-opted. So it's not like, we paid all them. We paid the American Congress. Well, they have done that as well. Don't get me wrong. But the strategy is to co-opt all these agencies, all these societies, like the American Cancer Society. They're making $400 million a year, and they will continue to receive $400 million a year as long as the situation, the status quo, remains unchanged. In other words, if somebody is going to come out and say, here's the real cure, the solution to cancer, they have to close, like they have stated when they started the American Cancer Society. So they're frightened. They're all terrified by the idea of real solutions that are going to solve these chronic conditions, like heart disease. Again, the American Heart Association has always maintained that heart disease was not curable, like the American Diabetes Association also said. Diabetes is not curable, and of course the American Cancer Society keeps saying, cancer is not curable. But guess what? We have not just, these great scientists around the world curing cancer, diabetes, heart disease, day in and day out. We also have a ton of scientific clinical research showing that heart disease is completely reversible. And now we probably you heard of these two great heart disease experts, these great scientists, these great amazing doctors. I know them both, and I do business with them all. So one is Caldwell Esselstyn from the Cleveland Clinic, and the other one, maybe he's even more famous. His name is Dean Ornish, and their books, the title of their books is Reverse Heart Disease. Is about reversing heart disease, not just slowing the progression of heart disease or preventing heart disease. We're talking about total reversal. And even quicker and easier is the book on diabetes, is the protocol, the program, the way to reverse diabetes. And I think that the number one scientist in the world that has started reversing type 2 and also type 1 diabetes, his name is Dr. Robert O. Young. Well, guess what? Dr. Robert O. Young today is my dear friend and co-author of many books. One, which is on reversing cancer as well. The title is Reverse Cancer Now. And our book on diabetes is Reverse Diabetes Now. He's been reversing, curing, completely eliminating diabetes, blood sugar normalized, stabilized for thousands and thousands of diabetes patients. Well, actually, I should say ex-diabetes patients. Then they now have a wonderful life, more than a normal life, with lots of energy, energized. They don't touch any medication, whatever, whether it be diabetes medication or anything else. And, of course, they don't do any insulin. I mean, just to make that crystal clear. Well, he's also my co-author in the book that we're talking about, because we have written it together. So that's why I have so much passion. That's why I have so much certainty. I'm not some guy that, by common sense is coming along and say, you know what, I think that if we change our diet and lifestyle, we're gonna see some improvement. I'm saying yes, that is common sense, and that's totally common sense. And when I think about it, it reminds me of Charles Darwin when he was pondering and reflecting about the theory of relativity. It was actually Huxley. When he was thinking about Charles Darwin's theory of relativity, he exclaimed, wow, how extremely stupid not to have thought of that.
Now, let me ask you. There's another thing. This is almost epidemic in America right now, and that's obesity. Is that caused by acidic conditions, or is it by a diet? And is it possible just to reverse that?
Very good question, Clay. Very good question. That's something that people confuse all the time. So, and here's my line that I keep repeating to all my audiences, seminars, workshops, conferences, on the radio, on TV, and here's my line. And I say, obesity, and for that matter, being overweight or obesity is not a fat problem, but an acid problem. What do I mean by that? I mean that the cause of obesity and of many other diseases is acidity, is too much acid in the body. It is this what we call latent tissue acidosis or metabolic acidosis. The way it works specifically, and I'm going to simplify it as much as possible for everybody to get that because it's so crucial and I want you to understand it. I don't want to sound, wow, he knows so much stuff, he's so intelligent, he uses so much crazy, difficult words. No, I want people, my focus, I'm a coach. At the end of the day, what drives me, what gives me so much joy in life is to see people light up with a new level of understanding, certainty, personal mastery, confidence, being in control of their life and having the results, the joy, the health, the vitality, the energy that they desire and deserve. So you're going to get this. So the body, when we accumulate by our lifestyle and diet and also environmental toxins, too much toxicity or acidity, now toxicosis, we used to say toxicosis or toxemia, now we call it not toxicosis but acidosis. Very similar, but now with this acidosis metaphor, we can quantify exactly how much toxicity we have. If we have a pH of 4, you're in trouble. If you are above 7, you're okay. The blood has to have a pH of 7.365, which is slightly alkaline. We have to be alkaline. The body is by nature, by design, alkaline, but all our functions are acidic. Therefore, our focus should be on alkalizing, and energizing and super hydrating all the time, adopting a truly alkalizing lifestyle. So people are acidic, and now this acid is the biggest threat. So much so that it's an even bigger threat than keeping our body temperature constant, consistent, and it's 36 degrees, and 36 degrees is in Celsius, I forgot what it's in Fahrenheit, and we have to keep the pH of our blood at exactly that level of 7.365. In fact, even traditional medicine today already, conventional medicine, classical medicine, is acknowledging that, yes, the pH of the blood pH is the most critical principle, value, law of the body. Now, if this is beginning to go into the acid score, and we see that by the body fluids that are beginning to become more and more acidic, that represents the biggest threat, because now if there is too much acidity in the body, now the acidity can go to the brain. If the acid goes to the brain, it's a much bigger consequence. Why? Because you get a stroke. Acid is like something that corrodes and glues. It's sticky. It goes to the brain, you have a stroke. Goes to the heart, you have a heart attack. So the vital organs like the blood flow, the heart, the brain have to be protected at all costs. But the cost is big. The cost is called diabetes. It's called obesity. It's called osteoporosis. For example, you just tell me if you name a disease, I tell you how that is a buffering system. For example, obesity is the system that creates fat cells to trap or store or encapsulate the acid in the fat cells to protect the vital organs, like I just mentioned, the heart, the brain, the blood vessel, the blood flow, to protect the vital organs from this threat, which is acidity. So that's why it's captured, it's imprisoned, it's encapsulated by the fat cells.
This is pretty incredible, because over the last 20 years I've been promoting and selling Miracle 2 soap, because everybody loved it. I mean, you bathed in it and it was just wonderful, you know. You felt good. You went out and sprayed your garden with it, and you took a sip of the neutralizer, and people were calling me up, man. I couldn't walk across a parking lot, and then I started taking this neutralizer, and I walked around the whole block, told all of our neighbors about that, and I did a story on a doctor who was who was curing breast cancer with baking soda. And I got to tell you, I think this is the most fascinating, interesting conversation that I've had, because I really believe that we are meant to be healthy. And but everybody in the chat room wants to know where you're from, what your accent is. Is he French? Is he English? What's his accent? So we'll just digress for a moment to tell us, to tell our audience where you're from.
Well, sure, yes. And yes, I'm actually half English and half Italian, but I've lived pretty much everywhere around the world. I lived for over a year in the Fiji Islands. I lived for 6 months in Asia. I lived in France, in Germany. I lived several years in the States. So I don't have a British accent, I don't have an American accent, I don't have an Italian or a French or a Belgian accent. I don't know where my accent is from, to tell you the truth. But anyway, for example, the guy that you were mentioning, I know him very well. He's a friend of mine. His name is Tullio Simoncini. That is the doctor that you were thinking about, right?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
Yes, yeah, sure. Dr. Tullio Simoncini. That is curing cancer with baking soda. Well, that is, let's say, less worse than what they're doing currently in terms of the traditional approach, which is chemo, radio, and surgery. And we know that surgery can be effective in a very small number of cancers. Sometimes when it's external, surgery can be an effective treatment, especially supported by a conducive, a suitable, and appropriate lifestyle as well. That can be a solution. But the other two are horrendous. They are disastrous. Chemo and radiotherapy. For example, radio, we know when you go to the dentist, you take an X-ray of one of your teeth, and they're gonna give you that lead. That protection, that suit. Why? Because we know that those radiations are very carcinogenic, very toxic. And that's such a tiny, it's like ridiculous. It's like nothing. If you watch TV, you get more radiations, but they still give you the lead because they say, hey, we want to be safe, we don't want to take any chances. These radiations are very toxic, very carcinogenic. Well, guess what? When then somebody has a problem, an oncological problem, a tumor, a cancer, what do they give you? Huge doses of exactly the same radiations. That just a tiny little bit could be a problem. Now move to the chemo. Then it says on the box of all chemotherapeutic drugs, a known carcinogenic. It's even stated, well, we know that. Well, I mean, the idea is that, yes, of course, it's a carcinogenic because it's supposed to destroy the cancer cells. But guess what? Not only does it destroy the cancer cells, but it destroys all the other good ones as well. Even though, they keep saying, oh, now we have the very targeted, specifically targeted chemotherapeutic drugs that only target the cancer cells and nothing else. Well, guess what? Less than 3% of the people treated with chemo survive 5 years. Less than 3%. And this is published in the Clinical Journal of Oncology. The Journal of Clinical Oncology. In Australia is 2.7%, the people who succeed at surviving 5 years. In the States is 2.3%, less than 3%. That's how dismal, that's how tragic let's say, not even the success. I mean, this is the success. That's what it's being classified as success. Having you be humiliated, degraded, suffering for 5 years with all kinds of painful, disastrous consequences, side effects that we all know only too well, because everybody knows these days. Somebody who has had or who is experiencing or is going through or has gone through problems, and sometimes it's themselves. Now it's like 1 in 3 people is developing cancer and dying from cancer, not just developing, dying of cancer. 100 years ago was less than 5%. In fact, 100 years ago, less than 10% of the people were dying from heart disease or diabetes or cancer. Today is more than 95%.
Well, now you have to understand that I've been labeled a conspiracy theorist. But when somebody spends a few $100,000 to erect a monument made out of granite that says they want to eliminate 9/10 of the population on Earth, I believe that's called the Georgia Guidestones, you have to stop and think, well, maybe there's something to that. I wonder who we're, if I'm one of the ones that are targeted for extinction here. I mean, do you see this as a plot, or do you see this as just something that naturally happened? And, there hadn't been too many times in history when it's been easy to be free. And do you see this as an ongoing problem? Do you see this as our governments, I should say, and it's a government on this planet that's responsible for about 1 billion deaths this century, more than any other time in history? I mean, is this a trend? Is this just something that's happening in natural, or is there intelligence behind it? It's kind of like asking you whether the Bible is prophecy or a plan for a one world government. And we've got our politicians talking about, now we can see a new world coming into view. What about that?
Yes, I've heard all these speculations and all these theories for forever, and there may very well be some truth in them. Otherwise, some usually. But at the same time, it's really not my focus, not my approach. And I know, very, very intelligent people, great doctors. They're sharing and telling me, almost like a secret. They share with me, Matt, and they tell me these stories of all these matrix behind everything that is happening. But then again, this is not going to go anywhere in terms of what we can do. And what we can do is a lot. And I want people to feel empowered. I want people to feel in charge of their life, in control of their personal, financial, health destiny, relationship destiny, emotional destiny, and physical destiny. And you know what? They can. Is it easy? Well, not necessarily, but that's why not many people have that level of personal mastery in their life, and they're really using a high percentage of their potential. Most people don't use not even 10% of their potential. Let's learn to use more by adopting, empowering effective, useful belief systems. Like the first belief is that I make my choices. You can. Yes, we might not win the war in Afghanistan. We might not be able to change the corruption in big pharma and big business. But you know what? We can do much better than what we're doing, and by starting with the simple things like what you put in your body, like the food that you buy and that you eat, the drinks that you have. Because it's nice to talk about all these wonderful, life-changing, universe revolutionizing top questions, and then go to Wendy or BK or McDonald's and have another cheeseburger and a large soda and French fries and say, yes, there's so much corruption in the world, and they are controlling the whole planet. That's not the approach. And I think, because I've seen thousands and thousands and thousands of people completely turn around their life, have a new level of vitality, energy, well-being, health, happiness, joy, confidence, and really that level of satisfaction that they really dreamed of having, and they finally now have it in their life with the relationship that they have. Is it easy? No. It's easier to just watch TV, eat French fries, and drink a soda. That's a lot easier. That's why you don't actually need to put yourself on the line to risk making mistakes or being judged by others because everybody else is sick and fat. These days, like 68% of Americans are overweight, of which 38%. Next year, 2014, we will have 40%. That was the projection. 40% of Americans obese. And now, if you're not overweight, it's like you're not normal. Now, if you want to be normal, you're going to be fat.
Now, I've tried to come up with answers. I've been reporting on this whole New World Order thing. I've had a lot of health people come on my show that all the way back to when Dr. Eli Wallach was putting out Dead Doctors Don't Lie, saying that the vitamins that we're getting in the one-a-day vitamins doesn't come through. They don't work. You're not absorbing them. The bottom of the porta potties are littered with one-a-day vitamins. And he was saying that what we needed was the trace elements, that's missing from our food. Now, I've had biochemists tell me that this fulvic acid, they get it now from prehistoric plants because our soil has been so depleted that with the corporate farming techniques that we've talked about, Monsanto and Archer Daniels Midland using, that we're not even able to generate enough food to support ourselves that is nutrients, and that's why our bodies are going acidic. Now, by the way, folks, if you've got a hot tub and your hot tub gets acidic, you got green crap growing all over it, right? What do you have to do to stop that? You have to make it more alkaline. Your body's 95% water. What would be the ideal balance? What happens if your body gets too acidic? You get sick, you get cancer. And so what you're really saying, we can save ourselves if we change our lifestyle, if we change our eating habits. And I've had doctors here that have cured themselves of cancer simply by changing their diet. And we may be hitting all around it. We may be hitting all around
right.
this, but what you're saying, I think, is absolutely true. It's a simple enough test, isn't it? You can go down to the drugstore and get acid strips, pee on it, and see what it is. We're going to do another hour. We'll take calls, and I do think I got an answer, and I want to run that by you, Matt, and we'll be right back here. Stay with me.
Okay. Radio at freedomslips.com. We'll be right back after this message.
Wadia will remain a dictatorship. Oh, be quiet. Why are you guys so anti-dictators? Imagine if America was a dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they gamble and lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for healthcare and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly be controlled by one person and his family. You could wiretap phones. You could torture foreign prisoners. You could have rigged elections. You could lie about why you go to war. You could fill your prisons with one particular racial group, and no one would complain. You could use the media to scare the people into supporting policies that are against their interests.
Tune in Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. Eastern Time for Liberation Nation with Deacon John, where America comes to hear the truth.
I know this is hard for you Americans to imagine, but please try.
Somebody's out of work or scared of losing their job, the dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep putting cotton under the counter. Punks are running wild in the streets, and nobody anywhere seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We know things are bad, worse than bad. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the streets. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
Yo! Be here Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time and hear the news with Jason Brentwood. Because when it's time to crush, it's time for Jason. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
This is Thomas, a.k.a. a Mad Trainer. I'd like you to join me Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Open Canvas. Don't forget to bring an open mind.
Yes, folks, that's right. Bring an open mind to an open canvas. Again, that is Monday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern. UFOs, government corruption. This is Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Now you can share the topics that drive the discussions of your favorite talk shows with TalkStream Live's topic-driven talk radio. List and promote real-time talk radio topics, or post the topics that you want to hear. Hot topics are tweeted and retweeted, and include simple click-to-listen audio links. The future of talk radio is topic-driven talk radio. Available now at TalkStreamLive.com.
Revolution Radio.
You don't see it, do you? How close we are to absolute chaos? The sick ones are sitting on their fat asses, eating and drinking themselves into a stupor, polluting the world without a second thought while it goes down the toilet. Nobody wants to do the nasty work. You know, the shit that we all just think about. Most good citizens are just along for the ride and then bitch and moan and complain about everything when it doesn't work out.
Not me.
Get it done.
Revolution Radio, where we do the nasty work. www.freedomslips.com.
The moment you realize you're caught in a dream, the adventure begins. Put your seat backs and tray tables in the upright position as we take a trip in the very fabric of reality. Join me, Andrew Parsons, for Adventures into Reality, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 noon at Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps.
Is your data safe? Do you have the necessary information to assist you in confidently living through just about any survival situation? Is survival and gardening, off-grid living, medical knowledge, or even natural or man-made EMPs on your list of personal concerns? Do you have your documents and your personal information in a safe place in your hands where you know where it is? Well, check out our preloaded EMP-proof thumb drive. Over 3 gigs of survival documents and how-tos, plus the USDA offline food preservation website, and much, much more, including a surprise bonus we just can't tell you about here. With plenty of room left over to store your most important documents. Imagine if a megavirus or computer failure took out your bank, or all the banks for that matter. Are your banking records safe in your hands? So when they get things fixed and repaired, you can say, hey, look, this is what I had. You have it, I want it back. Is your personal data safe? Family records, addresses, phone numbers? Well, squeeze on over to freedomslips.com. Yes, that's www.freedomslips.com. Click the banner on the homepage for the EMP-proof bullet drive to get the full scoop of everything that we offer. So, folks, keep your data safe for your peace of mind. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. Revolution Radio. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
All right. We're back here. My guest today is Matt Traverso. And...
What?
Beg your pardon?
No, I didn't say anything. Yes, we're here.
Okay, all right. And Matt has a book out, How to Reverse Diabetes Now. And
right.
You can get that at reverse-diabetes-today.com. Or, easier than that, go to freeamerican.com and click on it. You can right-click on his name and save this show and pass it on to your friends. If you got people that just ain't feeling too well, it's really not that hard, is it, Matt? I mean, we're not talking about any strenuous exercise campaign. What are we talking about? Just altering the way that you eat, the way that you think. And I'm also going to toss in something here. I ran across a lady that was talking about exercise, and not strenuous exercise, just saying that sitting in front of a computer all day will do you more damage than anything else. Just sitting there. When you're active, when you're out, when you're going walking to here, walking to there, going outside, working in your garden, you are maintaining your health. What on your book, How to Reverse Diabetes Now, and it's not just for diabetes. You've already talked about how it can affect how your alkalinity can affect your weight, as well as heart disease and cancer. What does it take to reverse this? Is it lifestyle? Is it a mindset, or what is it?
Right. Right. Okay. That's a good question. That's a good question. Sure. Certainly, of course, a sedentary lifestyle is a major contributing factor to diabetes and all the other chronic diseases. We know that. And so is habits like smoking or drinking or many of these nasty, negative, destructive, toxic behaviors that become addictions. Yes, we know that, of course. But if I were to say, if somebody were to ask me, Matt, what is the one factor that you believe, after researching this topic for 20 years with obsession, a true magnificent obsession into finding out the key organizing principles, the key distinctions that make the biggest difference specifically with respect to reversing diabetes, I would say the number one factor is diet. Diet. So if people, and of course, it also, it depends on what kind of result they want to see, because that's the question. What kind of results do we want? Do we want to just, because we realize that to change, when we make these changes, and it's the only, I repeat, it's the only way to truly reverse this condition. There isn't any other way. There's there's only a change in what we are putting in the body. And when we actually make these changes, we realize that the benefits are not just the normalization of our blood sugar, but we feel better, we have more confidence, more energy, we feel better about ourselves, we treat people better, we treat ourselves a lot better, we live with a new level of passion, enthusiasm for life, and that becomes even more important than what we thought was so important, which was reversing diabetes. Now reversing diabetes becomes such a no-brainer, so easy, that we go for something higher, which is achieving, realizing our highest potential, really being truly who we are on this planet to be. And that is a much more exciting challenge that, reversing these conditions becomes like, we do it like blindfolded, like lying down, idiot-proof kind of thing, because it's so simple. We see, the diabetes, they make it such a big thing, but, we see it all the time. For example, in September, we have a new retreat coming up that we are conducting, myself and Dr. Robert Young, near Milan, in Como, by Lake Como, Milan. We have a wellness center, a medical center, and there is a group of 20, 25, 30 diabetics coming from Europe, from the US. They come, they join the program, the protocol. They follow the program because it's easier there. Why? Because there aren't any distractions. Why? Because there aren't any McDonald's, any nasty foods, any toxic foods. There's no sugar, nothing like that. But there is a wonderful, gorgeous, exciting, tasty, delicious, exquisite diet. It's almost impossible, and everything is explained, by the way, in the book, of course, Reverse Diabetes Now. And again, the website is reverse-diabetes-today.com. When people start making these changes and they start feeling so good, they will never go back. And they just there, whilst they're there, just by changing their diet, we check their blood the day after, and their blood is normal. is normal. They didn't take any drugs, any medications. They didn't take any insulin. It's like, my gosh, why don't they do it? Some very naive people, including myself, of course, used to say, well, why don't they change? Why do they keep doing and using the same wrong approach, which is medication and insulin? That's not going to help anybody reverse diabetes. We know that, that is medication going to reverse diabetes, eradicate diabetes? No chance. And likewise, angioplasty, likewise, stents, likewise, bypass operations, surgeries, are they going to reverse heart disease? You and I and everybody listening who has a minimum of wisdom and common sense knows the answer is a resounding no. So why do they keep spending tons of money on bypass surgeries? Well, I tell you why. Even though the New England Journal of Medicine has shown last year for the 4th time in 7 years that bypass surgeries only help 3% of the heart disease patients, those who are in the middle of having a heart attack, those who are in an extremely dangerous, urgent emergency situation, crisis, super crisis situation. For those people, there is benefit because that procedure can be life-saving, and thank God we have it. For 3%. What about the 97% who were in a stable state? They were stable patients. For them, which is 97%, I keep repeating it because now you're going to get the answer and you're going to go, aha, it's going to be a breakthrough. For the 97%, instead there is no benefit in terms of their life prolonged or a reduction in the number of heart attacks. It doesn't prevent heart attacks and it doesn't prolong the life. And it's something very invasive thing. Just imagine having your chest cut open. Then they take veins out of your legs and sew them, stitch them to your heart to bypass the blocked artery. And very often, you haven't solved anything. People go back home, keep doing what they were doing before, and they have to come back to bypass the bypass, sometimes multiple times. And we know that. So why do they keep doing something that clearly, blatantly, publicly, obviously, clinically, scientifically does not work? Well, because now here's the crux. Get this. This is the most important thing that your listeners are gonna get out from this. One of the most important things for sure. What we are practicing in this country is not medicine based on evidence, the so-called evidence-based medicine. No, what's being practiced in medicine, something that I alluded to at the beginning of our call, reimbursement medicine.
Reverse
right.
what?
So for
Repeat
example,
that.
one bypass costs $99,570, or we can approximate by $100,000. An angioplasty costs $45,000. And if we multiply by the number of people who are going for these procedures every year, at least 500,000 people go for a bypass, receive a bypass surgery operation. So 500,000, which is 500,000. Over 500,000 people will have their chest cut open and veins will be taken and sewed to their heart. And that is something that is very, we can realize, we can see, very invasive, very risky, dangerous, with all kinds of complications that may ensue, such as internal bleeding, or such as infections, and it's very, very expensive. But of course, people sometimes don't see that costs so much money. But if we multiply 500,000 by 100,000, which is the cost of each operation, we got not 5 million or 50 million or 5 billion. We get exactly $50 billion plus 1.3 million cases, million operations of stents and angioplasties, which amount for 60, 70 billion dollars because they're less expensive, but we have a lot more angioplasty surgery operations being carried out. We have an amount of 120 billion dollars each year. We have to understand something. That represents, spread evenly amongst all the hospitals, that represents for the hospital 50% of their annual revenue. So if that situation is not going to change, it doesn't take a genius to understand why the situation is not going to change, has not changed for the last 15, 20 years that we've known that these procedures are vastly ineffective and so dangerous with no real benefit. The reason is because hospitals are not paid for encouraging good health in people. This sounds like a joke.
Now,
it's like the
I think we have come up with some answers here, and I want to run it by you. You know, a friend of mine by the name of Richard Kelly Hoskins did some books. He said that the foundation of every civilization was the self-sufficient family farm. I've told people that anytime a communist regime takes over a country, they go after three classes of people in order. They go after the farmers first because they don't want you being able to feed yourself. They go after the intelligentsia next. That's anyone that's smart enough to know what they're doing. And finally, they go after the veterans and the law enforcement that might still be loyal to the old regime, which is happening right now with the Department of Homeland Security in America going after the sheriffs, going after the law officers who might still honor their oath. And what you're talking about, this medical industrial complex, I mean, they are making people sick. They are the drugs aren't helping, and the answer we have a whole population, hundreds of millions of people that are being sucked into. I mean, this happens in the best families. I mean, my mother and grandmother were drug addicts. I had no idea. I was 6 years old, following them to the doctor. Occasionally I'd go in because I had asthma or something. I'd get to talk to the doctor too. But I didn't realize until I was 24 or 25 and took one of my grandmother's sleeping pills that she'd been on Tylenol for most of her life. Her sleeping pill. My mother was on some kind of pain medication most of her whole life. They supported the doctors here, and I've been in motorcycle wrecks, and you know, I don't have a single pain. I don't take any pain pills. So how do we stop that? I came up a few years ago. I came up with the idea because I had 5 acres out in the middle of nowhere. I came up with the idea of a Liberty Village. That meant people living together and working together, growing their own food, generating their own electricity from whatever God gave us, the wind or the sun. And I figured if we grew our own food, we'd be healthy. We wouldn't have to eat this GMO modified crap sprayed with pesticides, sprayed with poison, recycled Agent Orange or whatever it is that Roundup that kill all the crabgrass and you know, poison the plants ahead of time. Now, that was very difficult to do for people to do because their jobs were in the city. But I thought this was a lifestyle that I would want. That this is how I want to grow old, with my grandchildren on my knee, you know, watching the corn grow, you know, eating good. I mean, the best food I've ever had in my life was grown in my grandmother's garden in Weatherford, Texas. And all of my grandparents lived to be ripe old age. And recently I've come up with the concept of if you can't move to the country, how about bring the country to you? And what I'm suggesting and what we're putting together right now on Revolution Radio, and we'll be putting together, is the Liberty Village concept in your neighborhood. Now, if you start talking to your neighbors and you transform your backyard into a garden and put solar panels on your roof, you've got a house that earns an income. If you're working out in the garden and working out in your yard, growing your own food, you're getting your exercise and you're getting the non-genetically modified food that you're going to produce. And we got one family that we're featuring up on my website. We've got one family that's doing 6,000 pounds of food on 1/10 of an acre in a lot in Pasadena, California. Why can't we do that in every town, in every village? And in Oklahoma, this is in existence right now, they've got a food co-op where the farmers are growing their food and the people in the city have signed up for the co-op, so they're getting the food right direct from the farmers once a week. And I would like to see that go nationally, and that's what we're trying to put together right now. A co-op based on, they got 26,000 people there in Oklahoma. Why can't every state have one of those? And I think if we did this, we would be solving the exact problems that you're talking about in exactly the way you suggest that we do it, through our diet, through exercise, and by working together and not supporting the whole pharmaceutical, military, industrial complex that we degenerated into. How about that, Matt?
Sounds good. Sounds really good. And at the same time, we want to realize that, yeah, it's not just something that, of course, yes, we start doing it by taking care of ourselves, by making new choices, taking new actions, more intelligent, more virtuous, and healthier choices, and better, and developing better lifestyle and healthier lifestyle, better habits. Yeah, sure. But you know what? Something that will change at the same time. Something that people think is too big. What can we do to change the world, to change the system? We're not gonna, even if we cry and yell, they're not gonna change. Yes, that's right. That's not the approach. But guess what? If we start making intelligent choices, avoiding, steering clear of all the junk, all the toxic stuff, all the industrial processed foods, stay away from all that poison and start choosing organic,
I'm sorry, I just lost you there for a second. Who do you got, Richard? I just lost Matt. Hold on, we're trying to get it back here. Yeah, it ain't coming back.
Welcome to Blog Talk Radio. Please enter your host pin.
Hi,
When
Clay.
finished,
What
press
happened?
the pound key.
Yeah, hang on.
Are you there?
I'm here.
Our menu has recently changed.
Hang
Please
on.
listen.
Since it appears
Are
you're
we
calling back
still
into
on?
a live show, we are reconnecting you now.
All right. We're back on. I think somehow we lost connection there.
Okay, good. Right. You know, as I was saying, I don't know why the line got cut off, but anyway, as I was saying, when we are making healthy choices, the food industry will have to comply, like they have so far. For example, if they're churning out garbage because people want garbage, people want to buy cheap stuff and it's low quality, and that's why, you know, and they want to go for taste, easy taste, doesn't matter if it's full of sugar, nasty salts, and it's hydrogenated with trans fats, with all the processed sugars, high fructose corn syrup, MSG, everything genetically modified. They don't care as long as it's cheap and as long as it's cheap and tasty. These are the values that they have used up to now. But you know what, Clay? Things are changing. People have finally said, I've had it. Enough is enough. No more of this junk. We're going to take control. We understand that what we put in our body is more important than all the other factors. And you know what? The entrepreneurs have started a new movement, the wellness revolution. And we've seen things like Whole Foods, I'm sure you heard, these giants that are opening up everywhere. Yes, they're more expensive, but they finally have decent food, that at least it's not filled with all those chemicals. It's not filled with all sorts of pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, and all those poisons. And that is opening up for creating lots of opportunities for more business, more opportunities for more money. So actually, my interest is to make the food industry more successful, but by shifting towards something more natural, ecologically sustainable, and as much as possible organic. If they do that, they're going to have more of my dollars, more of people's dollars, instead of forcing more and more people to go into home gardening, having their own garden, which is obviously the best thing, of course, but sometimes you don't have all the fresh produce that you want all year round. So that's why having a system that works with the individual's best interests instead of against them, because it's the real solution. But in order for that to happen, we have to make that choice first. If we wait, it's like, Gandhi used to say, he never said, you know what, you gotta wait and wait and wait and wait, and then you have to wait and wait for things to change. No, he said, you change, and then things change. You must be the change you want to see in the world. This is the solution. We've always known it, and I'm here to remind every one of your listeners what everyone already knows. But we pretend that we've forgotten about the truth that we know inside. Maybe if we want to open up for a few questions, that would be a nice time. So we take a couple of questions and wrap up.
We can certainly do that, folks. If you want to call in, if you've got some questions, try 347-688-2902. And Matt will be with us.
Yes.
We can take some calls. And this is really what we're talking about here, man. We're talking about if you can do this, if you got a farm, you can be a part of a nationwide movement here. It's like let me see here how they produce it. Farming has the potential to go through the greatest upheaval since the Green Revolution, bringing harvests that are more healthful, sustainable, and yes, even more flavorful. The change is being pushed along by market forces that influence how our farmers farm. Until now, food production has been controlled by big agriculture with its macho fixation on average tonnage and record harvest, but there's a cost to its breadbasket to the world bragging rights. Like those big industrial age factories that once billowed black smoke, American agriculture is mired in a mindset that relies on capital, chemistry, and machines. Food production is dependent on oil in the form of fertilizers and pesticides in the distances produced to produce travels from farm to plate and in the energy it takes to process it. So for decades, environmentalists and small farmers have claimed that this is several kinds of madness, but industrial agriculture has simply responded that if we're feeding more people more cheaply using less land, how terrible can our food system be? Now that argument no longer holds true. With the price of oil at $120 a barrel, up from less than 30 for most of the last 50 years, small and mid-sized non-polluting farms, the ones growing the healthiest and the best tasting food, are gaining a competitive advantage. They aren't as reliant on oil because they use fewer machines and less pesticide and fertilizer. In fact, small farms are the most productive on earth. A 4-acre farm in the United States nets on average $1,400 per acre. A 1,364-acre farm nets $39 per acre. Big farms have compensated for the disequilibrium with sheer quantity, but their economies of scale come from mass distribution, and with diesel costing more than $4 a gallon in many locations, it's no longer efficient to transport food 1,500 miles from where it's grown. So what we're talking about here with this Liberty Village concept is going town by town, county by county, and making those people more productive. At the same time, they're going to work themselves into better health by eating right and getting the exercise, putting this together. To me, this sounds like a solution, not creating a problem, which is what's really happening now. The foods we're being fed and the drugs we're being given because of the food we're being fed. It's a real vicious circle, isn't it?
Yes, and it's creating all these problems and all these nutritional deficiencies and all these diseases as well, which is devoid of nutrients and all the things that we need, the minerals and vitamins and antioxidants and enzymes and phytonutrients, phytochemicals, all the things that we truly need in order to not just survive and be well, but thrive, really, really. And we need that. We need that, and the food right now available is. But then again, in the United States, we have so much wealth in terms of options in food that you don't even have to sacrifice the taste for and substitute health and replace. The joy of the pleasure of eating with health. So you can actually have the best of both worlds. You can have health and you can have pleasure, taste, fun, everything. These days, really, here in the States, we have the most amazing foods. Of course, they cost a little more. But, for example, now at Whole Foods, like I was saying, but there are many, Westerly, Fresh and Wild. It's a whole new industry that it's exploding and it's growing really, really fast because, yes, things have never been so bad, but also things have never been so good. Why do I say so bad? It's because every year that goes by, people get more and more sick. As I was saying earlier, we keep spending more money every year on medicine, over $3 trillion every year, which is $3,000 billion every year, and we get sicker and sicker with more kinds of autoimmune diseases like MS and all kinds of bone-related diseases, muscle-related diseases, and metabolic diseases, all kinds of diseases. These are exploding, and also, of course, all the other symptoms like migraines and headaches and reflux, and the big ones which we mentioned again: heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and all the other ones like high cholesterol and hypertension, and obesity and osteoporosis. These are all, by the way, buffering systems or effects or symptoms of imbalances in the body. It doesn't really mean anything to give all kinds of names to all these symptoms, and then we start treating, for example, okay, this is a set of symptoms, but these symptoms, they don't tell you anything if you don't know the cause. If you don't know the cause, you're not going to be able to treat it in an effective long-term way. So that is the first thing that we want to we get to realize if we want to make a real change that's going to be sustainable and long-lasting. I think the most important message of the diabetes reversing breakthrough, reverse diabetes now, is that diabetes is not something that people catch, that it just happens. It's something that people do. And even type 1, the people can actually, they are born because of, of course, the genetic pool that they received from birth was so sad and miserable and poor that, that's why children, we see children because of two reasons. Number one, because of already the genetic pool is so poor, and already there is a genetic expression for developing things like hypertension in children. I sent you the research in children, high blood pressure in children, cancer, heart disease, and heart disease, cardiovascular disease, circulation disease in poor circulation in children, and type 2, which used to be called adult onset diabetes, because it was something that was concerning the adult population. Well, not anymore. Why? Because we have an epidemic, a pandemic of type 2 diabetes in children. It's crazy. So the message is, number one, is that it's something that people do, or if they already have poor genes, they actually make sure that those genes are developed into full-blown disease, because once again, the gene only loads the gun, but what triggers the gun is our lifestyle, is our choices, is the way we think, is what we drink, what we eat, how we live our life. It's going to trigger the good genes or trigger the bad genes. Or we can shut off and turn off the bad genes and activate the good genes for energy, for vitality, for vibrant health and well-being. So that's something that we do, number one. And number two is that it's very easy. It's very simple, and it's so easy to cure. And I repeat the word cure, not prevent diabetes, not learn how to live with diabetes, not learn how to control diabetes. No. I'm talking about a true blue cure for diabetes that will solve, eradicate, eliminate diabetes from your life once and for all. And it starts, there are two things, and as I said again and again, diet and lifestyle. The most important of all the factors, such as, of course, exercise is important, feeling good states, good emotions, good sensations is very important, because feeling crappy or anger or resentment or fear can create more acidity, more acid than all the other factors combined if it's not directed intelligently, effectively, our mindset. It's very important. What we drink, do we drink sugar-sweetened drinks, all these soda pops? One small soda a week increases the risk of developing diabetes by 33%. One a week. People these days, they're drinking 2, 3 soda pops a day. Yeah, that's why we have the epidemic that we're seeing. It's not a mystery. It's not a UFO. It's not an extraterrestrial that has arrived and given diabetes to all these children and all these people and making them fat. Easy to think like that. Why? Because then you don't have to take any responsibility. You don't have to take your butt, your ass on the line. You don't have to take any new decisions, make any changes, move outside of your comfort zone into the kingdom of uncertainty for a little while, and then you realize that what you were fearing, which was the unknown, was actually heaven. I don't know why, but I found as a coach that people prefer known hells to unknown heavens. I'm saying, give it a shot. Give that a chance. And I guarantee you, you will never go back. You will get used to feeling so good, and you say, my gosh, and I know that this unknown heaven was going to be so good, I would have made this decision long ago. I say, well, now, don't start, telling all these stories. Just do it now and start feeling great right now. So number 2 is, it's really simple. It's just a matter of making new decisions, making new choices. It's easy. It's something that everybody can do. You don't need a degree in medicine. You don't need a doctor, although I have to say that you don't do anything until you first have consulted and worked with a doctor. But guess what? Just by whilst you're thinking about it, if you just start changing your diet, and of course you have to take full responsibility in doing that, smoke less, drink less alcohol, move more, drink more good water, eat more vegetables, drink more vegetable juices, green shakes, do some colonics. That's something that anybody, you don't need a degree. Do you need doctor's approval to smoke less cigarettes? I tell you that you do. But you do anything that you think is sensible. Do you think it's sensible to smoke less? I don't know. I tell you, go and have the doctor's or a certified or a qualified health professional's permission before you start smoking less, because it might be harmful, because now you're used to that amount of nicotine in your blood, so you need it to function normally. But hey, you know what I'm saying between the lines. All right? So the message is that it's very simple, and it's not anybody's fault. It's not even your own fault. You say, well, I thought that's what you were saying, that it's my fault. No, it's not your fault, but guess what? You are always responsible. The responsibility lies in you. It's within you. And it's not like playing with words. It's really 2 planets apart. Because if you say it's your fault, then again, you are the victim. You start blaming yourself. Oh, I cannot do it. I should have done it long ago. Oh, I told myself all these stories. Oh, that's not going to help you if you start punishing and blaming yourself like that. It's the same thing, because you're not taking action. In order to take action and do something different, you have to see that it's never your fault, but you are always responsible for the choices that you made and the decisions that you can make from this day right now forward that are going to change your life. So by taking that action, making that choice, making that decision, you can change everything in your life, and people are gonna get hooked to feeling good. And feeling good is the greatest drug in the world. We have more endorphins, more morphine-like substances, and we have dopamine, we have serotonin, we have all these great, very powerful drugs. We don't need that soda, that sugar. And by the way, sugar is more addictive, 8 times more addictive. New research is showing it's 8 times more addictive than heroin or cocaine. When they've done it with rats, in research in labs with rats, and they had conditioned rats to be addicted to both sugar and heroin. Heroin in their veins of these rats. Guess what? They always went for the sugar when they have the option between a hard drug and sugar. So we have to realize that sugar, and also, and also something else, all those low-fat or no-fat foods, steer away. Those are worse than the fattening ones, especially if, and also, we have to realize that fat is good. We have a head. You got to have a fat head because 60% of our brain is fat. We need omega-3 fatty acids like good fish oil. We need good flaxseed oil, hemp seed oil, and just flax seeds as well. And
okay, now
are great.
I've got to stop you for a second. This is kind of one of my pet projects here. And again, I've told people when a communist regime takes over a country, they go after the farmers first. And I believe that happened here very shortly after the Federal Reserve took over. And they went after our number one cash crop, which was hemp. Now, hemp is one of the best sources of vitamins, of minerals. The hemp plant probably pulls out the fulvic acid that our current crops don't have in it because it reaches so deep. The Secretary of Agriculture for California told me if we planted hemp on the sides of the California mountains, there wouldn't be any erosion. And California has now made marijuana available by prescription. Of course, in my opinion, that's the drug companies trying to keep their hands in and get a little bit of money off of plants you can put in your backyard. But the THC in marijuana is killing cancer. Harvard did a study that said if you were smoking marijuana, you had less chance of lung cancer. And personally, I feel that if a man with a badge can walk up and say, "What's that in your pocket, son?" You're going to go to jail, son. That is absolute proof that you live in a police state. I'd like to get. Now, I was kind of excited. I've been smoking pot for about 45 years, and I was kind of excited when they made medical marijuana available in Arizona. But turns out I was too healthy to get it. I didn't qualify for medical marijuana because I'd been smoking it for 45 years. I'd like to get your input on that. We've just gotten hemp, the ability to the first hemp field planted in the United States, been planted in Colorado. A number of other states, and the legislator is trying to legalize hemp production again. I'd just like to get your opinion on that. Was that, do you have one?
Yeah, well, actually, I always say to people, you don't want to smoke hemp, you want to eat hemp. That's my message anyway. And people, of course, are free to do whatever they want. But, but in order to reverse diabetes, they also, it's a super food. Hemp seeds, and I'm talking about the seeds of hemp, have been super researched, super documented. There's a ton of research showing over and over the power of hemp seeds in terms of they are so rich, not just in protein, by the way. Now, these days, bodybuilders, they switched from casein-based supplements or powder, protein powder. Now they're using hemp powder, and I'm using hemp powder as well. Today I've had a green shake with a lot of hemp powder. Feel packed with phytonutrients, with lots of minerals, with all kinds of, also, there are a series of vitamins as well, especially fatty acids, has a very well-balanced ratio between omega-6 and omega-3. exactly what we need. And also, as I said, it's a rich source of protein. And people are always afraid, oh yeah, we gotta have enough protein. Well, great. Hemp seeds are full of protein, even though we don't need as much protein. But that's fine, because as far as it's plant-based, I usually say, if it comes from, it was made in a plant, don't eat it. If it was grown on a plant, then it's great. Just to make that distinction.
Why is it we can bring in hemp seeds from Canada, but we can't grow it here? That doesn't seem quite right to me. I mean, my friend Jack Hara, who I supported while he was writing his book, Emperor Wears No Clothes, he said if you were on a deserted island and you could take one thing with you, what would it be? And he said a hemp seed, because with a hemp seed you could have clothing, you could have food, you could have shelter, you could have everything.
Clay?
Why can't we have that in the United States? Why was that sent to Canada? Why was it sent to the Soviet Union? Why, when you can make 10,000 products out of a hemp plant, why do we have to buy the raw materials from China?
Well, yes, that's what that is actually what my message is about. And that's, I absolutely, I love all this great enthusiasm and making and creating justice. But I think that the greatest justice is creating business. When the system, especially, I'm actually right now diverting, because otherwise if we digress in that direction, we go so much off topic. But still, within, and also, that probably will embrace that concept as well. Like, if we want to change what the food giants are churning out and putting on the market, let's just make and choose the healthiest foods. Let's make the healthiest choices. Let's become qualitarians. Not so much vegetarians or vegans. I don't like those words. I don't like those labels. I like nutritarians. I like qualitarians. Let's just choose quality. Good, wholesome, real, natural, organic food. Why? Because then the giants will have to comply. We'll have to change. And that's the most effective strategy to convince them to change when they see that they're losing ground, they're losing profit. That's exactly what happened to McDonald's. When Supersize Me came out, people started talking about, gee, these people are killing us. That's what happened. McDonald's, what did they do? They started introducing vegetables, salads, apples in their menu. Now, question. Do you think that McDonald's and many other huge companies like McDonald's, do you think that the reason why these giant corporations have changed is because they've had a lightening of morality, of benevolence? I really hope so. But the reality is that they've changed because of business, of course. They were losing business. They were losing profit. And now even, Starbucks. Starbucks these days, they've introduced all kinds of foods for raw foodists, healthy choices, raw foods for people who also want to make sure that they also have enough nutrients. And of course, they go to something healthy, something organic, and that's where you can find it there. And also in all the other supermarkets, we see that the organic section has been growing and growing and growing and growing. And we want the whole supermarket to become organic, so that there will be more and more competitors in the marketplace, in business, in the industry, and all these companies will compete with one another, and that will keep the prices, bring the prices down.
That's exactly what I want to see happen with your backyard. I want to see solar on our roofs and gardens in the backyard. And people are afraid to do that. They are afraid to do that because, oh, zoning won't allow it, well, the city won't allow it, well, the neighborhood association won't allow it. But I believe we can do that. If we work together,
Yeah.
we've got the legal representation, and just common sense are to tell you that we have the right to grow our own food on our own property, wherever that is.
Okay, Clay, that was great talking to you this morning. It's 12 o'clock. I have another appointment right now, so I need to shoot right now. And it was great talking to you. I'm gonna let everybody know that to find out more information, all the protocol, exactly the step-by-step strategy, protocol, program to reverse completely diabetes and achieve optimal health, just go to www.reverse-diabetes-today.com. Again, reverse- is hyphen, so reverse-diabetes-today.com. It's also available on Amazon, and they will find the information on that website. Clay, it was great talking to you. Maybe we'll talk some more later on.
I'd love to have you back, sir. I appreciate that, and I'm looking forward to getting your book. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.